My sister called my son a bastard and mocked me for having a wife. Now she doesn't have anyone beside her horrible husband, and she won't be having a Merry Christmas. Final updates. Update 8 days later. A few things happened in the next couple of hours after I wrote my last post. First, I spoke to my grandparents on my mom's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mom and constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mom this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have decided not to be around Steve either as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see Jack and us on the 23rd before they headed off to my uncle's, and I happily agreed to do so. This surprised me and outright shocked my mom as, like I said, they are the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even they've had enough. The next thing that happened was that my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they wanted Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying and that the family loves Steve. He laughed as he told me this and called them delusional. So any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from the after-school club with a recorder, and I was sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and me out of the family. Organizing trips that he knows we would be able to go on, we wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball, and him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we are all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship as they're very close. They go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair from November through December, and we always go to it with Mom, Dad, Granddad, and Kay's mom. We decided to cheer my mom up a bit by going on Sunday and then out for dinner afterward. My mom was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first but settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mom and dad to take him on the giant snow slide, and as my mom walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that while waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't there. When my mom asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mom tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued and said he learned in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time so he was a bad man and that he didn't like him. There was a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher taught him how wrong bullying is. So I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mom. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wanted. Not what I want or Dad or Kay or Jack or her parents or Sarah or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet and then said that Kay's mom had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mom would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later, I saw my mom and Kay's mom having a deep discussion while walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mom seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since. Yesterday, my mom told me she would be coming to Kay's mom's for Christmas, and they've been discussing going shopping together next week. When Mom told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that Mom was choosing us over her. My mom told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I'd won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the bastard of a whore. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what had happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They're all as appalled as I am, and my granny, Mom's mom, called Sarah and apparently told her she was dead to her and she won't have a bigoted in the family. Sarah has been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she's making on IG. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mom, Dad gave him a verbal lashing and told him that he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad told Sarah he was disgusted with her but would be there for her if she left Steve. Until then, good luck. Mom has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive towards Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a pee-pee when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, Then all the attention is on him and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I think they're both toxic and feed off each other's toxicity. She lets him get away with the things he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So mom's angry. Dad's angry. Our 3 grandparents are angry. Extended family is angry, and Kay is being my rock. But I can tell she's really angry about what she said to Jack. I'm just sad and done with it all. At least now I know what she thinks about Jack, Kay, and myself. So there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It will be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a PP, but I'm sad that is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like, seriously, fuck you. Update 1 month later. This might be a bit anticlimactic, but nothing much has happened. Sarah stopped trying to reach out to me during the first week of December after one final message from a mutual friend saying that she loved me and was sorry. My dad spoke to her once on Christmas Eve to wish her and her alone a Merry Christmas. My mom has spoken to her a few times and had breakfast with her on Christmas Eve, but that's it. As far as I'm aware, Steve and Sarah spent Christmas at their house alone. I do know they went to a party on Boxing Day with one of Sarah's friends, and Steve was on his best behavior according to someone I know who was there. Maybe he's learning. Who knows? I did have a few people asking about why Steve and his family don't speak, and after talking to my dad, I found out that Steve said something to his brother's wife at a family gathering that led to his brother and him having a huge argument that turned physical. After that, Steve's brother refused to have him around himself, his wife, or his kids. So Steve's mom and dad told him he wasn't welcome to family events anymore, and they had very little contact with him. He apparently gets a phone call on his birthday and Christmas, but that's about it. My dad was told this by Sarah, who was there when it happened. As per usual, she tried to downplay the whole thing and say that Steve's family was overreacting. Sounds oddly familiar. We spent Christmas at Kay's mom's house, and my mom, dad, and granddad all came as well. My mom and Kay's mom haven't ever really spent a lot of time together, but they have been recently and they've become good friends, meeting up for lunch and going shopping together a few times. It's a bit of an odd pairing as my mom is very straight-laced, and Kay's mom was a punk when she was younger and now is really into Wicca and natural healing. Seeing my mom dressed in her Sunday best and Kay's mom in her Intimacy Pistols hoodie is an odd sight, but they get along great, so that's nice. Christmas overall was good, nothing special, just relaxing. Without Steve being around, there was no need to be on edge. Jack was very spoiled and loved every second of it. I'll be honest and say I miss my sister a lot, and part of me really wanted to call her on Christmas Day, but I know I can't have her in my life right now. That's really about it. It's all very boring. I still want to launch Jack's recorder into the sun, but he loves it, and his rendition of London's Burning is improving. Listening to 26, 4-5-year-olds enthusiastically try to play London's Burning on the recorder at the Christmas nativity play was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That got the biggest cheer of the night, for sure.